Everything like comes down to one thing, man. Like my gist of the whole video would be this: that like shooting for myself, like friends or whoever, they said no, at this age you can't do it, and if you're from a small town, you can't do any of that thing. But throughout my life, there's one thing in common. I was always fascinated with shooting and also with photography.
Hello everyone, welcome to our first ever podcast show, the Video Specialist Show. In this podcast, we'll be talking with some of the prominent experts from the industry, film industry, video creators from YouTube, and experts. You might have watched some of the prominent music videos like Sage, Lidji, and some of the feature films like Kia and Cosmos. You know what? He is behind the camera. So, today we have one of the young promising cinematographer from the industry, Aditya Verma. So let's welcome Aditya Verma on the show. Aditya, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. That was quite an intro. Thank you so much, Philip.
So, Aditya, just give a short introduction of yourself so that people get a more closer intro of yourself.
Hi, my name is Aditya. I'm a cinematographer from Bombay. I also do a bit of photography. I'm basically from Andhra Pradesh, a place called Tirupati. I belong from there. And the whole journey of getting into cinematography started about three and a half years ago. Like as soon as I came to Bombay, I met like really cool people from Jugaad Motion Pictures and my whole journey started. So that's a little bit about myself. Yeah.
सो आदित्य लाइक कुछ लोगों का ऐसा रहता है कि बचपन से पता लगता है कि यार मुझे फोटोग्राफी में जाना है या फिर मुझे फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में जाना है करके उनको बचपन से लगा रहता है बट और आपका क्या है लाइक लाइफ में जाते जाते पता लगा कि ये टर्निंग पॉइंट पे मैं ऐसा हो गया या फिर बचपन से वो चीज़ था आपके में कि हाँ मुझे इस फील्ड में जाना है करके
सी डेफिनेटली बचपन से ये था कि I want to become something big, like I never had like, say for example, if someone tells me yeah, if you become a cricketer then you'll become huge star and everything, I used to think, oh, I should become a cricketer. So I took cricket really seriously and I started going for coaching and stuff. I started like getting into a club and stuff, and then suddenly one of my like friends or whoever, they said no, at this age you can't do it, and if you're from a small town, you can't do any of that thing. So any of these dreams and stuff, I said, okay, maybe I can't be a cricketer. And then I dropped my whole dream of being a cricketer and all there. And like all my life, like I had always been like shifting, oh, okay, now I'll become this and then I'll become an accountant. But throughout my life, there's one thing in common. I was always fascinated with shooting and also with photography because I like even bachpan se I had this very like basic Kodak digital camera which had like 30 shots. So I literally used to get like 30 shots. So I used to like save it up for like good moments and stuff and shoot pictures and stuff. And I used like I wasn't getting like a lot of money to like buy film and stuff. So I used to like save up one picture for like those moments. But it was mostly with friends or like showing off, things like that. So but I always loved like as a form photography for sure, and also filmmaking, like films, like films, like I was revolving around films, like bachpan se I always used to used to watch all the South Indian films or like say Mani Ratnam films, like you see those like wide shots of Santosh Simon and all. Like I used to be very fascinated how would they even think of it, how would they even come up with these things and stuff. So slowly it grew, man. I think like by 12th I knew I want to get into film industry. I wanted to get into films, and yeah, man. I think over a period of time it just grew, and then I kept sticking to it. And whatever I was doing separately, because I did accounting, like I was a BCom undergraduate and a financial accounting diploma student, so in post. So I was reading, and then on the other side I was like always fascinated with things, learning things. And also like I come from a place where people don't now there are so many people who have started becoming photographers, they've started becoming everything. But then back then the internet speeds were so slow, there was like so many things were like not feasible for a profession like mine. Like, you know, like say for example, if I want to become a photographer, I probably, like, my reference there would only be like a studio end of the street who is like shooting with like two stupid studio lights, and then I'm saying, what the, like, I don't want to become that. So I didn't know exactly like how to take it. But when I shifted from Tirupati to Delhi like 7-8 years back, I met like these people who are like photographers and stuff. So from there, the whole journey started of like me actually actualizing my dream of like getting into films and all this.
So that was your turning point where you got there was something like cinematography.
Yeah, see, my turning point of getting into, see, honestly, I thought because I was assisting a photographer for 2 years in Delhi before I like even got into cinematography, and after assisting him, I started doing photography for a long time, like for good like 3-4 years, like 2-3 years at least. And like because my camera, right, like in those 2-3 years, because my camera had video, like my first digital DSLR was 60D and it had a video in it. So once, like, that changed everything for me, like, oh, so now I can actually shoot, you know, like. And so I was slowly doing videos. I started shooting like small short films all by myself. And I still remember Ritesh, my friend, like, whom I assisted, he used to do photography and I used to go do video, like BTS for him. And like that's how I built, like, started doing videos. And people were like while, like, as soon as I started, I knew like, oh, it's so good, like this is so great. But only problem was it takes time. It took time for me because my laptop wasn't able to edit that well. You know, like it was a really slow laptop. So my 60D 10 like full HD video wasn't like that quick. So for me to like render, it used to take like 3 days, 4 days for like 1 minute video.
Yeah, I know the pain.
Yeah, the process wasn't going so fast. So I had to like slowly take in. Now if you see every laptop available in the industry, like you can easily edit 4K footage. That kind of things have come. And also a beautiful thing called proxy I figured out a bit later. Sometimes I'm seeing here, so it's fine. I think
It's okay.
Like I think
even I'm used to watching you now.
So I think, yeah, man. I think more or less that's how I actually got into shooting videos, you know. And yeah, I think I like a lot of things when I go back from Tirupati to, like, from Delhi to Tirupati. I used to like start shooting time lapses, like. Everything like comes down to one thing, man. Like my gist of the whole video would be this, that like shooting for myself, you know, like that actually was my real, like till today, you know, like shooting for myself, like not just working for others or not just shooting for someone else. Shooting for myself is actually been my real, like it was the reason why I'm here, like what I'm here, like what I'm doing right now. I think that's one thing I can take from my life.
I do agree with that because in my journey of travel blogging as well, the reason why I loved making more videos is that when I go
Okay,
from
by the way,
or-
really great channel, man. You're doing great with your work, and I appreciate what you're doing with these things, especially because this is the only way that we can give back to the community. Like as a channel with like as a channel which is growing for you, like it can also, like, it can actually give you everything. But for people who are just starting up right now, who are like getting into these things, I think
I want to
it'd be
help
great.
them in a way that they can learn how I started, what are the mistakes that I went through. बिकॉज जब ये सब ट्रैवल करके जो वापस आके जब एडिट करके वो जो वीडियो देखता हूँ ना, वो जो खुशी मिलती है दैट यू टोल्ड कि विच वी आर मेकिंग वीडियोस फॉर आवरसेल्फ, वो जो खुशी मिलती है ना, दैट फाइनल वीडियो, दैट्स ऑसम. सच बता रहा हूँ मैं, वो जो 1 मिनट या 10 मिनट का जो वीडियो बन के उसमें 100 व्यू भी क्यों ना आया हो, बट वो देखने में जो मज़ा आता है वो अलग ही है, राइट?
Yeah, man, that moment no one can actually. This is something that we can't make, like we can't explain people like what is the feeling when you know, like, oh, this is it, man, like this is the real happiness. You can't explain people because everything sounds, oh, like whatever we say, it'll only sound like a, oh, magical or dream world. But literally when you actually get into that space of like actually knowing like how it feels, that experience, like we can't explain in words. It's something very special.
Exactly. So, Aditya, just tell me one thing. You went to any film school or you're self-taught?
Yeah, I'm a self-taught guy and I've answered this like 300 times.
Wonderful.
I definitely, like all my life, I never learned photography, cinematography, editing or color grading. Everything I learned by myself. Probably you're also one of the self-taught people I've seen.
I was self-taught, but now I'm on a film school now.
Oh, okay, great. Amazing. That's great. That's great, man. I'm saying, see, I am not against any film schools or I'm not against this process of learning from film school or anything. I keep telling this. It worked well for me because for a setup where I started studying, where like I come from Tirupati and then I come to Delhi at the age of 24, 25. It's impossible for me to like start film school then and then start everything. It is absolutely impossible for my financial condition at that age. It is absolutely impossible for me to take something as a career, so like head dive into something and put money into it. Like as soon as that comes, I think it's a little risky and like nobody wants to take that risk. So that's why everything was self-taught, because for me enough things were available for me to understand or study for that particular video that I'm going to shoot next. So I never saw it like, oh, okay, for the rest of the life I need this knowledge. I always thought, oh, okay, for next video I need this. So I used to learn about time lapse, and then I go like crazy for like 10 days just learn about time lapse, how to do a time lapse, what is a time lapse, and then learn on internet and then start shooting it. Then I understand, oh, after shooting one time lapse, I understand, oh, this could have been better and this could have been better. Oh, now I can use a voice over it. Or I can do this. And then like over a period of time, keep doing. I think you learn a lot of things. Yeah.
I've been in this process earlier before I've been to film school. But the thing is that film school जाने के बाद जो मुझे जो feel हुआ है वो ये है कि जो 10 वीडियो में बना के जो गलतियाँ मुझे होती है उससे जो सीखता हूँ वो मैं शायद 1-2 क्लास में वो मिस्टेक्स मेरे को वो लोग पहले ही बता देंगे. And I will be prepared for that.
See, that's what, like, see, for people like you, right? For people like you, it's the best thing. Why I'll tell you, now you go to film school, you get book knowledge, you get to expose, like, you get to be with like different minds, like that's the greatest thing, you know, like you can be with like 30-40 different minds, how that guy thinks, how this guy thinks. I don't know if it is 100% helpful, but it is definitely helpful to like cut off all the cringe that you do when you're beginning up with stuff. Like say for example, when anyone gets a camera, and then when they think of shooting anything, first thing they'll start and do is, like, I've seen this hundreds of even film students and all. The first thing they're like, oh, okay, let's make a horror film, or let's make a short film, let's do this. They never understand, oh, okay, so this will be the process, this is the cringe that you have to cut off, and then you get to the classiness. So for that, it's a journey, right? Like you need to like get rid of like all the basicness, and then come to like, oh, what you can actually use this art form for. So I think that's where people like you are like real examples for people who, like, it doesn't have to be one example or one way of just like, oh, learning by myself or self-taught. It can be like for someone like at 19 or someone like you, young, you guys can just like start your life at the age of 19. That's something like unbelievable, man. For like, I don't know, like people who go to film school and do undergrad and stuff, by the age of 25 they will know millions of things. They will be exposed to like industry, they'll be exposed to, I think I'm very hopeful for the future, man. I just hope like when you go to a film school, you stop experimenting a little. So if you don't get into that cycle of, oh, this is wrong and this is correct, and we should just be like, oh, nothing is right, nothing is wrong, we can literally do anything we want. We need to be open to experiments, we need to be open to doing things, even though film school taught me this. So if we can get that mix, I think it's a great platform for people to learn.
That was perfectly right, because ऐसा भी होता है बहुत बार कि कुछ चीज़ें तो हमें बताते हैं कि ऐसा नहीं होता, तो हम वो ट्राई भी नहीं करते एंड
That's
एटलीस्ट
true,
वो
man.
ट्राई करते तो हमारे पास और ऑप्शंस आते हैं और एक्सपेरिमेंट करने के लिए अपने पास चीज़ें रहती हैं. हाँ, ऐसे भी होता होगा.
That's true, very true. But like that's what, man, I don't want people to like think, oh, now that's the only way to go, like self-taught, or that's the only way to go is film school. Nothing like that, man. And you have access to hundreds and millions of things online. Now you can see like the websites that you have, Skillshare, all these things where you can learn things. You can go on YouTube and follow like really like there's so much of interesting things people do. There's so much to learn online. So I think if you can like make use of it, I think yeah, do
Sure.
anything.
So Aditya, what were your source of information? Where do you refer the most? मतलब आपको कौन सा ऐसा सोर्सेस था कि यार ये सोर्स मेरे को नहीं मिलता तो कुछ नहीं होता. देयर माइट बी सम सोर्सेस लाइक ये सबसे जेन्युइन सोर्स है जहाँ से मैं सीख सकता हूँ.
See, definitely one is like for me, because I am not from this background, I don't like I had to start from zero at the age of 25, where I didn't know anything about the camera. I need to learn everything about a digital camera, what is a digital medium and everything. So I had to learn from zero, and for that, like my then like really good friends were photographers. So Kshitij, Niharika, whom I met in Delhi, and Chetali, they all actually taught me so much, like so much. Like instead of like not just teaching, right? Like I used to get access of someone's camera because I wasn't like still an owner. I was still assisting someone, so I didn't have money to even buy a camera. But I had access to someone's camera, and then I used to like learn a lot and see. And yeah, man, that's how I think I learned a lot. That's one thing. Two, I assisted Ritesh Sharma, so I was with him in professional scenarios where I used to like understand like, oh, what's beauty lighting, what's light, how to use light. It's not that I've understood everything from there, but at least like to understand pressure, like because there was so much of running and there's so much like in shoots and stuff, commercial shoots and stuff or ads scenario, there's so much pressure. So like to deal with that, I kind of learned a lot from there. Before that, even like when I was in Tirupati and when I was in school and stuff, websites, there used to be a lot of blogs. Like we didn't have too many YouTube channels back then, and also the internet speeds were so slow. I literally have to wait like whole 7 hours or 8 hours to see 3 minutes or 4 minutes video. So it used to be like 10 kbps, 15 kbps kind of internet speeds. So it was really difficult for me to like get information from internet that easily. But again, even back then, I still remember I used to like take people's phones which had camera. I used to borrow digital cameras which had cameras, and then I used to take my friend and like click pictures, edit and post on Orkut. It was Facebook back then. It was
Yeah, I
like Google.
remember.
It's called. I used to like post pictures, doing like changing backgrounds in Photoshop and stuff. Like I started learning Photoshop everything at home and stuff. So yeah, man, I think that's how I fell in love with this. Like there's something that you can't, like, no matter what film school you go to, you can't imbibe someone love for any kind of an art form. It has to be something that you can, but everything else you can learn. Love and passion you can't teach, but everything else you can learn. Skill you can definitely learn. And I still remember like back then YouTube channels, people like Tony Northrup, or like only they were the few, like this guy Jared Polin and all, like even they came a little late when I was in Delhi. But when I was in back then, it was people who used to write the articles there. I used to like read and gather, and I still remember I was so interested, especially in fashion and all. I was quite interested, but there was no source in Tirupati. Like I can't go and shoot a fashion shoot because the people like wouldn't ever understand like anything close to. So I used to see these websites called lookbook.nu and stuff. So where I used to learn like what was the street fashion, how like what's the fashion like in like the current scenario and stuff. I still see lookbook.nu and lot of other fashion blogs and stuff where I see actually pictures of like what's the current street fashion and stuff. So that was very fascinating and interesting for me. So because Ritesh was a fashion photographer and commercial photographer, it was easy for me to like connect and understand and also put my like aesthetical sense to like what I like and stuff. So it was easy to apply like that. But what YouTube channels, man? I think very few, man. I can't recollect like so many. But man, I'm very bad with names. Yeah, I'll let you know, man. I'll leave something in the links or something. Like maybe I can send you.
Yeah, we will post it in the description.
I think, yeah, Philip Bloom and all, they were like really good. Like I really like Philip Bloom's channel because he does, like even his reviews are like 2 hours long. like if you see Philip Bloom channel, his review for C200 would be like 2.5 hour long. It won't be like fast food, like you literally go through every single thing and understand what he's saying. And also at the same time, he grips you so well, like I can't even explain. Like he can keep the hold for like good 2 hours. That's a little, like sometimes I'm not even interested with the camera, but I'm just watching it just for like how cinematic he makes things feel. And then it's so meditative. So it's very nice. And like that, there are so many people. I'm going to recommend some. I'll share and then you can actually see. You can share it with your people as well. Okay. I hope I'm not boring, man. Let's move on. I think let's move on.
No. This conversation is becoming more interesting now because we are getting to know more about your taste, and I'm sure people will be loving it.
Oh, I hope so too.
So, what was your first camera, and what's your how many cameras you own now?
Okay, good question. My first camera was that Kodak camera. I don't remember the model number which I had, it's a Kodak film camera, which that was my first camera. I remember it's like the most cheapest model. I and my brother collected some money and we shared money and just we bought that camera, and that was my first. But my first digital camera was at the age of 26. At the age of 26, I bought Canon 60D. So if people are thinking, oh, like he must be having so many, like he must have had great opportunities to start early or something, nothing like it. I had to like work really hard to even own my camera. So I think at the age of 26, like if people, like now I see people, they have cameras from the age of 11, 12. So the things they can learn and do on cameras is exceptional and unbelievable. But now I own like 5 cameras. You want to know the models?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I own an X-T3. I have my first film I shot with GH4. My first film's name is Namdeva. I shot the entire film with Panasonic GH4. And my second film's name is Kia and Cosmos. I shot with Panasonic GH5. So I'm not giving those cameras to anyone. I'm keeping with myself. So I'm keeping the cameras. I have C200 and I have EOS R. So yeah, I have 5 cameras.
Even I'm like that only. Like once we use one camera, we won't be able to give it to someone else. It when it stay with us, we have that feeling. हाँ यार, इस कैमरा के साथ मैं यहाँ गया था, इस कैमरा के साथ मैं यहाँ जम्मू गया था. वो जो feeling है, वो मैं किसी और को नहीं.
But I don't think it's a good thing. See, honestly, I'm also going to give it away at one point of my life. I'm going to give all these away to someone. But at this point, I'm not giving it because I don't want to like also like be attached to these things, because end of the day it's still a camera, like I want to actually have that detachable value to these things. I want to actually give value to my people and the people I'm working with, people more than the cameras and stuff. So I want to actually not promote this kind of a behavior, but I just hope one day I would be strong enough to just give it away to someone. I'll definitely give it away sometime soon. But yeah, that's why I kept them. But my daily driver, my main camera is always X-T3. I'm sure you must know by now. It's Fujifilm X-T3.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna update it to X-T4 next, and let's see, because it's got IBIS and stuff. So.
Yeah, I've been seeing a few of your review videos on your YouTube channel. So those of you who don't know about Aditya Mana's YouTube channel, just go check it off. he's sharing really great, valuable videos. So just go search for adityavarma.com. adityavarma.com, right? Your website. .in. adityavarma.in. This is his website, and just go search on YouTube Aditya Varma. You will find his YouTube channel as well. It's completely filled with values.
Let's see, man. But honestly, now if you look up on Aditya, see, I hate this film which came in between. It's called Aditya Varma, and it's Arjun Reddy remake in Tamil. And after it came, I am not available on Google. I am not available on IMDb, nowhere, because everybody searches for Aditya Varma. It's literally that film. I was like, no, man, no, you can't do this. Because, like, literally before that, it was like whenever you search on YouTube anything Aditya Varma, my things would turn up. Now, it's literally the whole front page is literally covered with that film. So, yeah.
Yesterday, when I was searching about you, the whole first page of Google is full of that Aditya Varma movie.
Whole film instead of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyway, in future, Google may rank your content. I'm pretty sure, because you'll be taking off from here now.
Let's see. But honestly, I'm like not worried about it, because I know for a fact, like, it's not a great thing. Like, fame is good, but it's like it's just like not a great thing. I know I don't fall for these things, because initially when I was like getting into acting, or like when I was interested in modeling and all that, then I used to be like, oh, like fame, all that. But then as a person, when you keep growing, you understand like how small or how nothing is fame, you know, like. And also it's only more negative than just like doing anything positive to you. So I don't see it as a great thing. But only thing is, I really want to have like, I want to wake up to like say 100,000 people who are who can watch whatever I post on YouTube. Like, so for me that is more interesting than fame or like this kind of just like. I kind of
Yeah, I understand.
yeah, I kind of want people to just like, I want to be able to like share something, and then there are like 100,000 people who are ready to like just say, oh, okay, let's see, it's Aditya's. So that is what I'm more interested than, you know, I think. Because we're all in the end of the day, like, we're all in this for like storytelling, right? So you want some kind of an audience to say that. So yeah. And yeah, man, I think luckily for me, Jugaad Motion Pictures fills those gaps. So they actually give me this audience whenever I want to express, whenever I want to do something. We do in the form of music videos and films and
So,
stuff. So,
can you tell me more about Jugaad Motion Pictures, when you joined them and how you got to them?
okay, so see, Jugaad Motion Pictures literally was 0 films old when I met them. They like I literally joined them. Like, I came to Bombay after like a huge breakup. I had like a 4.5 years breakup with my girlfriend. So after that I shifted to Bombay from Delhi. And when I came to Bombay, I called one of my friends. Her name is Anastasia. So I called her and I told her like, I'm actually looking for a team where I can like understand, or I can learn things and just like get into filmmaking, into a set, like a group of people. And then she said, okay, cut the call. And I said, okay. I waited like one day, and then she calls me back and she says, like, there is one film crew that they are looking for a behind the scenes photographer. Would you be willing to do it? I said, like, because I've already shot fashion, I've already shot commercials, I've already shot stuff. So for me, like, I wasn't so, like, I'm always keen to like get into a really good group of people where I can learn, like, understand filmmaking and everything. Because I literally came to Bombay with only one motive. Even if I was given like a job of like anything, man, anything at all on a film set, I would have said yes. So Anna gave me a better position than like, say, a light boy or something. So so she called me. I said, yeah, definitely. And then so on a Sunday morning, I go to Darya's place with like these many equipments, and they were literally shooting with iPhone. But then they saw my equipment and they said, okay, we are going to use your equipment to shoot our music video. I said, okay, fine, cool, great. So because they were shooting, I was also because I had more than one camera, I was also doing BTS, but at the same time I was shooting B camera. And in the middle of the shoot, in the middle of the music video shoot, luckily Dheer asked this question that actually connected all of us. He asked me, bro, do you know anyone who does editing and stuff? I said, like, I was like khali, I was like doing nothing, came to Bombay. So I was like, I know editing, I can edit. He's like, oh, Dar, come here, sir edits as well. So we should definitely, we should definitely see if we can do it. And then Darya's like, yeah, for sure. So next day I go to Darya's place, and then Darya and I are sitting on my laptop, connected to her TV, like a big TV, and then we are editing on the TV screen with my laptop.
You were editing Sage, no?
No. That was Sage and all came much later, man. The first music video that we shot was much before my film, much before everything. My first music video that I shot with them was with Dana. It's a Ukrainian song. It's a Ukrainian video. So, like, yeah, that's my first video. And from there, I think then, like, in the next few sessions we were going to Whistling Woods. There's a place where it's called Whistling Woods where it's a film school. So there I went to, like, we used to go there and we used to do sound mixing, sound recording and all that for their film, which they were recording music for. Like, they were recording music then, so they were using Whistling Woods as one of their places where they were recording audio and stuff. So I used to go do the BTS. I was actually signed up for that BTS for the film Tino Radha, which is on Netflix right now. That's the film that I'm talking about. So I was doing BTS on Tino Radha, and like in the succeeding days, Darya also saw some of my work, and she was like, "Whoa, okay, so this is good." And then I finished the BTS. They really loved my pictures, and they really loved the video I shot for them. And then I became close to them. And one random day, Darya comes up. We went to this place called Panchgani nearby. It's a hill station. We went there, and then we were chilling and stuff. And Darya suddenly comes up with this idea for Namdev Bhav. And like out of nowhere, where one day I'm in Delhi, and then they say you have to shoot Namdev Bhav. I was like, okay. So it's like, for me, I was working with some company. It's from some fashion brand called Hallmark. So it's my friend's company only. So I was actually shooting for them in Delhi, and then suddenly Dheer calls me and tells me, bro, we are shooting Namdev Bhav, and you're the DP. I was like, okay. Because I was like, my first film is on as a BTS filmmaker, and my second film is like I'm doing that as a DP. So, and then once I started doing once we started working on Namdev Bhav, everything just changed. Like, my whole life just changed, man. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you were constantly talking about Darya. How could you connect with her, and how effective is मतलब एक डायरेक्टर का एक DOP के साथ कितना कनेक्शन होना चाहिए?
Kitna connection, I don't know, but I'm very lucky with especially the directors I worked with. I'm very lucky with especially with Darya. When I first met her, straight up, Darya is such a person. You just meet her, you just see her energy. There's not a living being that cannot connect with her. Like, there'll be one thing or the other, you can just like feel like, oh my god, I love Darya. Like, there'll be something that you'll get attracted so much, or you'll be like, oh, there's something in her. And like, she literally is a magical creature, man. What can I say? She's like you want to be with this blob of energy who is constantly just like throwing positive vibes around, just talking, just like being herself, and zero pretentiousness, nothing. Like, for me, more than like just working with her, also I wanted to just spend time with her. Just like for me it was huge, because like, I remember being like that. Like, now I've mellowed down a lot. Initially I used to be like that, and then I saw Darya. I was like, oh my god, she's like me, like I was like it actually gave me a lot because when I was in Delhi and I was like before the breakup and all, I have so much energy that's like a little like it's always problematic. Like, even today, that's a little problematic because there's so much energy. So Daria was like that, and we connected so much like from day go, and I love her, respect her. There's not there's not one bad thing even today that I think of her, and that's like the most important thing between a director and DOP, that you need to trust them blindly. Okay, they might be thinking something wrong in your opinion, but you have to literally trust them completely. Yeah, you can throw your ideas, you can throw your thoughts, you can say this is wrong, Daria, no, this is bad, but you should always be uh, in the mode to definitely first try what she's saying, first do what she has in her mind, and then come to your thing. But yeah, man, I think that's something that I always strive to do is like, I don't want to judge my director whom I'm working with. I'm already with the director. I can't just be in a project and start thinking, oh, she doesn't know anything, I would do better. If that kind of any one half a thought comes in, you're dead, man. You're like a dead person. You just literally are not shooting a film, like it just becomes pointless. But there are like it's a human mind, right? Like, it's a human brain. Obviously, when you're shooting with like other directors, like say for example for me, like then I worked with Daria, and I was like literally at that moment I was like, she's the best director in the world. And then I got another film with someone else. Their process is completely different. Like someone like Sudipto, his process is like exactly opposite to Dar. Like he doesn't like he's always about on the shot, on the day of the shoot. Like we talk a lot before the shoot. We talk everything like this. We discuss hundreds and millions of things, but it's all spiritual level. It's all level where nothing about cinematography is talk, nothing about what kind of lenses he would like, what kind of focal length he would like, nothing about what kind of an image he's looking at. No, everything is about the character. He keeps talking about Kia. You should definitely check my second film, which is on Netflix right now. It's called Kia and Cosmos. It's a Bengali film, but you can definitely watch with subtitles and stuff. It's called Kia and Cosmos.
I saw the
uh,
trailer, it's awesome. The frames and the color, uh, the emotions, everything.
Yeah, man. I think like it's a completely different process for me. To see someone like literally, I have like we have short scenes where the entire scene, he doesn't even talk about what is the scene, how is it going to do, what is going to do. He literally uh, he literally tells me, okay, now you do what you want to do, and then goes in the scene, and it's literally the most important scene of the film. Like if you see that scene, it's between there's an interaction between the mother and the daughter. It's like the most important scene of the film, and then he just says, "Ha yaar, tu kar jo karna hai kar." And it's like, oh, then that gives you all the kick, and then you have to think of, oh, how do you light it up, what do you do, and then you start. Like, he doesn't tell me what you want to do. Like, it's literally handheld camera, and then you start shooting, and you decide what you want to catch, what emotion you want to catch. He that's how I think most of the great things are made, where you are free to do what you want to do, and then you're led to do what you want. I think that's one of my favorite scenes all life, like how everything came out. So yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes.
Well, Aditya, what when I saw your videos, what I liked is your color. There's a moody kind of color, and I like the style. What's the secret behind it? How do you judge colors, and how do you learn it, the coloring process?
Man, this might sound very dreamy and stuff, but literally, literally, it's my taste, man. Like, which I developed over a period of time. Uh, like, in my like ex-girlfriend relationship, or like what I have liked in my life, whatever I've been seeing and then growing, or like say like some of the characters I've liked in life, or some of the paintings I liked, or some of the books I've read. So all that, what I liked, or like what I have been looking at, what I have been taking in, that only reflects on today's what am I doing right now. It can't be like, oh okay, I kind of like this color, I'll actually go with this kind of a palette. You, no matter what you do as a DOP, your personal touch is definitely going to be there. So like for like few years I still remember, like this is what my art sir, like who used to be my art, like my painting teacher in my school, uh, he's a great guy, but I never couldn't paint. I never couldn't draw because my hands were like it wasn't letting me do, and I always used to feel so bad because in my head there's imagination, there's colors. I know exactly what I want to do, but when I start doing it, it's absolutely not possible for me, man. Like it was not happening only. And I always used to get beaten up. I always used to get like, okay, he used to like try and, but sir, what do I do? It's not happening. And then that thing changed with camera. Like as soon as I got the camera, and then I kind of understood Photoshop and stuff, I was like, oh, so now I can actually paint what I have with my camera. And it sounds very dreamy and preachy and all that, but it's literally that, like when I started actually shooting, that's why I loved the process, because it gave me so much power I always thought I never had. So for me, that's why the whole changing experience is that. And also I don't have a particular like way of thinking, oh this is my process of doing color grading, or this is my process of, it's just literally about what will suit for that. Like say for example, cold mess, even though it's colorful, even though it's bright, even though like there are places, there is this element of like moodiness, like element of melancholic look to it, like that haze kind of a look. Of course it has come from 16 but at the same time I color graded over it as well. So like everything is like what will work for that thing. But if you see Sage, like the same things, more brighter. Yellow has been like more blossom. There's more gloss in the last shots. Like there are like it gets more brighter, but at the same time it gets more happier. The texture might be similar to each other, but it gets more happier. Like it gets. So yeah, man. I think I can't run away with my personal touch, but I can definitely create a palette, or I can create this world in my head and then try and achieve it. But even today, man, like when I was shooting that bird watching, so even with bird watching, right? Like when we're doing the voiceover, so I was with, like I was talking to my writer Ritika also, that like we initially thought of like emoting the voiceover like step by step, like point to point, like what it was and what the emotion should be. But then like while I was recording, I literally was lying down on my bed, taking a mic, like going literally lying down and just like recording like that, so that I can get that heavy voice. And I started so I think that gave a little bit, like a lot of texture, one, two, also that heavy voice. And also I kept it plain, I didn't want to emote it too much, because the same line, some people took it as a melancholic feeling. The same image or same line, some people took it as a hope, or some people took it as like beauty. So like that's the beauty of like especially this art form, or like filmmaking, that you can, if you keep, like if you keep things open to the audience interpretation, not only your interpretation. It's like the, yeah man, I think all these things comes by time, and by like keep doing things again and again. Over a period of time you understand things. Yeah, and I still remember one of my friends from New Zealand called me. He's a great guy. He called me and he's like, he told me that I could actually imagine you lying down and looking at the window and recording the voice. I was like, what? That's unbelievable, because I was like, wow, man, that's some success right there, like what I felt. And what other thing was, like, yeah, man, everyone like literally loved the video, and the voiceover came out really well. And similar image, like, say for example, again, one more thing, when I was shooting as well, I shot like that guy who was alone. So some people took it as like a melancholic thing where people thought, oh, he's so lonely, he's not able to socialize now, he's separated and all that. Some people saw him like literally, it's on my YouTube comments saying he's the Lone Ranger, he's the life like world saver, or like people are taking each thing. And also the color grade, if you see, I didn't I did not push opposite sides. Say for example, I did not shoot at like evening and then make everything like really blue or dark. I literally let the temperature be as is, so that like what I was feeling on that day. Like my literally, even the color grading I did for bird watching, similar frames look different on a different day. Like say for example, when I shot like seventh day or sixth day, it was actually looking something else. And the same thing with like a little bit of more smoke or smog in the atmosphere, it looked completely different. And the color temperature was different. The colors were different. So for me, that actually helped me emote like, oh, I could actually use this day's footage here, where I was actually not so happy. Like, and when on the day one, like when the voiceover said on the day one, like ants kiss on the way, like while they're meeting each other and stuff, like crossing each other. So all these lines, I knew it wasn't like such a sad thing, like, so it's not, every day is not like the same sad melancholic feeling you have, like especially during the shutdown and stuff. Some days you enjoy being alone and enjoy your freedom, right? Like that is also part of uh, my videos. That's why I didn't like want to emote it to be, oh, happy things, let's keep it happy, let's I didn't want to do that, so I kept some parts as is, like bright and that's why I chose particularly to shoot, in these times of the day where, like, today it's bright, so it's more happy. And so I went like at 4:30, like not clipping the sky and everything. So I didn't want to like go completely at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So I went at around 4 o'clock. And every day I used to, like, my sleeping cycle is so messed up right now, because in last 10 days I've been sleeping after shooting the sunrise, and I've been waking up before the sunset. So I had to like set up, think what I'm shooting today and all that. So yeah, I think that's why, it's very authentic.
The whole bird watching video was really nice. I told that color scheme, that moody feel, that's throughout every video of yours. Like the reason why I searched for the DOP of Sage is because I loved the music, but I keep on watching the video several times. I just loved that concept, loved that video. Maybe because of that, I searched you, who's the DOP, who's the director. Then I get to know that you're the one behind Ligi, you're the one behind Kia and Cosmos, and that moody thing. I don't know what's that called. That moody colors, or that there are some feelings that's common among everything.
Even I don't know, so it's fine actually. So, don't know, man, what you're talking. I think several people have mentioned, obviously, about things like that. But literally, like, if you, like, it's not much I've done. That's something probably, like, I like shooting things like that. Like, if you see some of the grungy things that I shot, I literally love shooting that textures how they are, like, that's also one very reason why everything is so moody. Like, if you see, like even the oranges or even the colors, the way the sunset helped, how it is turned a little, like how do you call it, like a little melancholic, is because of the time of the day I shot. Like, imagine if I shot the same thing like say at 12 o'clock, obviously it would be no moody, it can't get like how. So it's again, like, again comes down to my liking, right? Like, what I like to shoot it.
Well, Aditya, let me ask you one more thing. Sir told one thing that he used to follow a pattern like half while shooting, means setting inside camera, and the other half is post production. What's your take on that?
What see, I don't, man. Honestly, I didn't get the person's name you mentioned. I'm really sorry. What was his name?
It's his name is Saji Babu, cinematography sir. So what he told is like whenever we are shooting, keep 50% for post production and do 50% in the camera settings.
Okay, man. I think I'll follow that from today because he's a sir. You said so. I'm definitely. I'll definitely keep that in my mind.
What's your take on that? How do you follow, like how much percent you give for post production and how much percent you keep while shooting?
I'm only thinking like you're asking me for like pushing the colors and contrast. You're asking me
Yeah,
this.
right.
But for me, only for this, like pushing the colors and contrast, for me, 85-15, I think, because 85, because if I have not shot the colors that I want in my video, if I did not select the art like the way I want, if I did not choose the color of the windows that I want in the video, yeah, if I did not choose what the girl is wearing or the guy is wearing or what's the color of the wall I'm gonna get it painted, if I don't choose that while I'm shooting, I don't think I'll be able to recreate in post, like I won't be able to like say, oh, okay, let's create. See, one thing definitely what he means probably by that is like maybe shooting too log. Like say for example, some people shoot too flat, like when they're shooting, they shoot like really flat, like say C log 2 or like S log 3 in Sony people, and like really flat image while shooting. Probably he means to say you don't leave that much of thing to the post. He's correct, but I personally always shoot log 1, especially with Fuji. I shoot with F log because it's not too flat also like Sony. That's the reason why I didn't like Sony that much, because Sony had log for consumer products, especially the cameras where you can also shoot photos and video. They have S log, but all of it is 8-bit. So I couldn't first like get what I want in post. Get literally what is there I couldn't get. Forget about get what I want. So for me, like literally whatever I shot, I want it to be as much as possible similar to that. Like whatever colors I shot, whatever the lighting I did, how much of like how natural it should look for me. It all comes down to like what I saw that day during the shoot, right? Like honestly, no matter what camera in the world you use, it won't give you exactly what you saw. Like it won't give you exactly what you could see with application of your brain, how you saw what you saw. But only thing what you can come close to is when you shoot like when you shoot log, you can take it to how you saw it. So I think that's something.
So usually you prefer log over raw.
Log
What's
over
your
raw.
preference?
Log over raw.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
very tricky question. See, bird watching, I shot everything on C log 3. It's like the C log 3 on my C200, F log on my. It's like 80% not log or 70% not log. It's not. It's like most of the colors are already baked in because it's an 8-bit footage or it's a 10-bit footage. So I don't want to. Why the reason why I want to shoot raw or like really flat image would be when I know for a fact the sky would blow off if I don't do log or if I don't do raw. Literally, log is like a substitute for raw in smaller cameras. Like say for example in smaller consumer cameras, because you can't shoot raw because it doesn't have that much of horsepower or engine power. It is shoot like it's a workaround for us to get as much dynamic range. That's one thing. That's the reason why. But man, each to his own again, because I know people who shoot straight in the camera with standard profile and they just don't do much of grading. I also know people who shoot like really flat image and then they push so much in the post. So it all comes down to, I think, personal preference again. But for me, I'll always shoot log if I'm shooting 10-bit. If I'm shooting raw, that would be when I know for a fact I'm shooting in midday conditions, or when I don't have control over the sun or lighting. Then I would want to shoot in raw and then bring back all the things that I wouldn't be able to get in 8-bit or 10-bit footage. But mostly we never shoot raw. Like Sage we shot on EOS R. So literally, like, it was like, it doesn't even have a good log profile. Forget about raw. And like, what else, man? In Baate Karo we shot raw because we were shooting throughout the day and I had to match time properly and also keep the feel throughout. So then I had to shoot in raw because I didn't want to lose lot of sky details or like all these things. So I had to shoot in raw.
Aditya, now we are going for fast track questions. You have to reply in one single word. Okay? So, your first question, your favorite DOP?
I know it's a bit tricky, but let's suggest
Okay.
one name that you always love.
I'll
Maybe
have to
one,
give it to.
in
I'll have to.
industry.
Yeah, no, I'll have to give it to Roger Deakins. The problem is, like, I got introduced to Roger Deakins much later. I was only like following, like, I never knew, like, initially in my life that I'll become a cinematographer. So I never got exposed to any of this, like, so I always used to just see Mani Ratnam's films or like Santosh Sivan's film, like DOP, like cinematography and stuff. So Santosh Sivan definitely was the. Sorry, man, this was one word. Okay, Roger Deakins. Let's continue.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Now we can divide it in Indian film industry and Hollywood.
Yeah, okay. Santosh Sivan and Roger Deakins.
Awesome. Even mine.
Oh, great, amazing.
Next question is, one film you wish you had shot. One film you liked and you wish that I wish I had shot that film. Like, यार मेरे को एक मूवी इतना अच्छा लगा, काश मैं ये शूट कर लिया होता.
If I liked a film that someone else has shot and it's so good and I wish I had shot, I would have definitely not shot like that. So probably I would definitely not want to shoot that, Like, I would have see, for example, I liked Atonement, cinematography, but I would never say, oh, I would have shot it like that or I would have shot it better than that. So that's a very tricky
Not
question.
better, but you might मतलब ऐसा कि यार काश मेरे को वो शूट करने मिला होता. ऐसा कुछ.
No. Yeah, it's a great question. There's no doubt about it. Man, one film that I would like to shoot would be Fargo 2. So Fargo 1, the film that came way back. So it was shot by Roger Deakins. I wouldn't mind shooting Fargo 2. Like if Daria directs or something.
Awesome. Your favorite YouTube channel?
It keeps changing, but right now, my favorite YouTube channel right now is Camera Conspiracies. I don't know if you know the channel at all. It's called Camera Conspiracies. It's this guy who's from Canada, and he's extremely funny. It's nothing to do with cameras at all. He doesn't have much of camera knowledge or nothing. Only reason why I watch the YouTube channel is he's extremely funny and he has no clue what he's doing, but he keeps talking about dynamic range and log 10-bit footage. He's only looking for a perfect camera and he never gets it, and he hates every camera in the world that he owns or that he has tested. So it's called Camera Conspiracies. It's a really, like, right now it's mine. But education wise, if there's one I have to mention is, right now it's again Aperture. Like, Aperture is the company I'm with, Lights company. They do really good live videos and they do really good videos on lighting and all. So yeah, I really like their website and I'm very proud of it because it's also part of me. So
Okay, fine. The next question is, beautiful frames or technically correct frames?
wow. Beautiful frame, man. Simple.
Why?
Because who cares about technical correctness? Who will know? Like literally, except you and me, nobody will understand. Oh, what was the technical knowledge on it, or what is the metadata on the camera when it was shooting, and what focal length, and what aperture or anything that you want to. It's literally, if you can get the essence of the moment of the script that you're in. Like say for example, if you are 30% of the script, and this is the essence of the actor, or this is the essence of the scene right now, and if you can get that, forget about technical things, forget about bad lighting, forget about bad framing, forget about all your knowledge and skill. Nothing matters if you can get that essence, and if you can literally bring that out. I think nothing else matters, and I think that's how
Great answer. Great answer.
that's how beauty has come out, right? Like say for example, there's so many frames or so many things that you see in life where you don't necessarily know, necessarily it is not a technically sound thing, but it's so beautiful, but you don't know the reason. It's because the essence of it.
Next question. What's your dynamic range preference? Like how within how many dynamic range you set your frames? Is there any preferred dynamic range, or like you leave it?
Yeah, man, literally, I think, see, it's completely against my values now, like to just like say, oh, 15, 16, 17. Because for me, literally, dynamic range definitely matters when the image, like say for example, in a particular film, that image is so important. Like to shoot in the midday and to have that really harsh light, but at the same time, you don't want to lose the entire range of highlights and the shadows. Then it's really important. But say for example, for not half, 80% of what I shoot, for me, 8 to 9 stops of dynamic range is more than enough. And literally, no matter if you shoot on 16 stops, 17 stops, 200 stops, you end up coming to 6 to 7 stops of dynamic range once you punch and do the contrast pulling and everything.
Right. Okay. Your next question. Your favorite film?
So many films I have. I need to be prepared for these, like for rapid fire. Okay, let me just quickly say. Should I? Okay, wait, I'll tell you one film. How can I choose from these two? Okay, man, I'll choose Atonement for now, because like as a cinematographer, I should recommend something that's more cinematographer friendly. So yeah, Atonement.
Awesome.
It's called Atonement.
We end up with the fast track.
Really sorry, it must be the most slowest fast track questions ever in the world. That's how I am, man. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's more about giving value to our audience, and I'm sure that even that fast track was kind of giving values to our audience. Anyway, I have few questions left. Let's make it really fast, because it's already, I think, 2 hours now.
Yeah, you can chop it and make it like 1 hour, man. Please. Otherwise, people are not going to watch it, I guess. Okay, please continue.
Okay. What's your dream project?
My dream project is working with my team, who can actually be on their top of the game and not worrying about like any kind of result, and we do what we are good at. Each person in my team does what they're good at, and they're just living the moment, and the entire film we shoot like that. It doesn't matter, that will be one of the best films we would have ever made. So that is one film that I'm always looking for, and also we are close to it, man. I think we have a really strong team which actually can come to realize my dream. So let's see.
Yeah, you're really actually lucky to have such a good team.
Man, I can't thank my stars, man, and I'm very thankful to my stars every single day, and not just stars. Everyone will get it. It's just matter of time, and it's just matter of investing that much of emotional and like you have to give time and emotion to that investment. Like it's like any other relationship, right? Building a team is also like when initially when I was with Dheer and Dar, Dheer is our producer who started Jugaad Motion Pictures, and Dheer, Dar, Sakshi, and me, and like very few people we were. It was really small, right? Like, and we were building one by one, one by one. Now we have like 4 directors in the production house. We have like at least 7 to 8 writers. We have like everyone chipping in something or the other. Everybody ideating. There's so much of knowledge. Everyone is so knowledgeable. Like literally, I'm the like least knowledgeable person in the team. It's like unbelievable, man. Like everyone knows everything. So you can't just like mess around with such a team. So it's great.
Our next question, let's end it with this question, the last and the final one. One thing that you learned on set, what you think that you can't learn anywhere else, online or in books or anywhere else?
I think collaboration, man. You can't learn collaboration in books. You can't understand how you can deal with other actors or other artists or other directors, other people, unless you go on a set and learn it. You literally cannot read any book and say, oh, the director will come with like these kind of mood swings today, or the producer will come up with these kind of expectations today. The art director will come with these kind of his own like aesthetical sense. If you cannot understand like empathetically each one of them and feel them what they are trying to do, feel them what they are trying to give in, you won't be able to like be a good filmmaker. Literally, no film in the world has been made by 1 or 2 people. You literally need at least 3 or 4 people. Someone like Reema Das would do something like that, where she literally shoots like with 4 people or 2 people, 3 people. But there is a collaboration. Even there, like there's some kind of help you have to take from like each other, and it is yours as much as it is directors. It is yours as much as your producers. It is yours as much as anyone in the set owns it. Like even people who are doing lighting or my gaffers or my whole team, they own each and every bit, and that's the reason why like it's a great magical process. And man, it's all like, say today could be, my mood could be dark, man, so my light person can just like say, no, I don't want to give so much light, because in his head, for him, the brightest value could be EV6 or EV like -6 or -4, like, right? But I want to shoot at EV2 or EV3, but he would never come there. Then I have to like understand and feel him and like empathize him. And that's why I think there are few things that we do at Jugaad Motion Pictures. Like we do like kind of a bonding prayer kind of a thing. Not a prayer, it's more like it's like a ritual that we do every time before we start anything, where everyone becomes one and everyone tries to understand like one thing. We are all here for the film, for the thing that we are doing. So yeah, I think collaboration is something that you can't learn without actually experiencing and being with other people, and trying to understand like all of us are like one. We can't just be like one step above or lesser. Because for me, if my gaffer is as important as my director, my producer is like as less important as the guy who gives me tea in the set. So I think everybody is as important as everyone. Cool, man. It was great. It was actually great, man, Philip. I'm really glad you're doing these things, and I also hope you like people who are watching like this. And if there's one tip I want to give people, is like, again and again, I stress on this again and again, shooting things for yourself. Like whenever you get time, now you have a lot of time, start taking your camera, understand the camera, shoot for yourself. It doesn't have to be technically marvel. It doesn't have to be like if I was shooting bird watching at this time, I wasn't thinking, oh, it'll be world's biggest or like it'll be some. It turns out, man. But but the moment I took the camera and started shooting, like the success starts coming. Things start moving for you. So I think more or less that's it, man. That's it about the day.
So it was an awesome talk with Aditya. He was such a down to earth person and really loved talking to him for such a long time. Like it took almost 2 hours, right? A whole talk, and I didn't felt like I'm talking to someone for the first time. And I really loved his value pack conversations. And I hope you guys must have gained some value from this whole talk. So hopefully our first episode was kind of value packed, and I really thank you.
Thank you,
for
man.
spend
Thank you.
so
Thanks
much
a
of
lot.
time with
I want to
us.
thank your.
With us.
I want to thank your audience also if they're sticking this long. And thank you. Thanks a lot. Keep shooting and keep doing wonderful stuff. And listen to him. He's amazing. So you should just like see some of his other work as well. And I hope you guys are rocking during this period. And I'm sorry, most of the times I was looking at you and speaking. I couldn't see the camera. And
People may understand that we are looking at each other. Well, Aditya, where can people find you on social media?
okay, I have my YouTube channel, which again, like he's already mentioned, which name's Aditya Verma, and my Instagram is Aditya Verma Arts. I know it's a really tacky name, but I had started way back. It's quite bad, cheesy, and it's adityaverma.in. And anyone you want to ask questions, do anything, catch me up. I'm up for it, man.
So the whole conversation was really valuable. So I hope you guys find this whole podcast helpful. Thank you for staying so long. If you find this video helpful, please do subscribe to this channel. Till the next video and till the next podcast, it's me, Evan, signing off.